Hello everyone, this is Casual Hunter Felix. In this video, I'm going to talk about what each special villager does in a Rampage quest and when to use them. More specifically, the special villagers are Elder Fugen, Lori and Buddies, Hinoa and Minoto, Master Utsushi, and Yomogi. The use cases I'm going to talk about in this video will apply only to the 3 Horde Apex Monster Rampages and Ibushi Rampages, because the sequence at which the special villages are unlocked may be different for the Rampages with 2 Hordes. Elder Fugen and what he does. Elder Fugen can be activated twice in a Rampage quest, and there are 2 versions of him. His first version, where his picture is light brown, is available at the very start of a Rampage. In this version, he will do 1 big slash with his longsword and he will do 2750 damage, enough to make any monster retreat at this stage. The second version, where his picture is dark orange, is unlocked when your stronghold reaches level 9. In this version, he will do 3 slashes, with each slash doing more damage than the previous slash, adding up to more than 3000 damage. Do note that monsters that are not in the arena map will not be hit by Elder Fugen. For example, during the transition from map 1 to map 2, some monsters may still be outside map 2, perhaps because you or your teammates are out there fighting them. When to use Elder Fugen? As mentioned, Elder Fugen will be available at the start of the Rampage, and he can be unlocked again when your stronghold reaches level 9. You can choose to use him at the start of each Rampage if you want to quickly level up your stronghold to level 2, perhaps because you want to unlock cannons, as cannons become available when your stronghold reaches level 2. Do note that if your stronghold reaches level 9, but you have not used Elder Fugen yet, then only the second version of Elder Fugen will be available to you, and you will not be able to use the first version anymore. If you are sure that you can level up your stronghold to level 9, it is better to use Elder Fugen once before your stronghold reaches level 9, so that he will become available again for you to use later if you need him. I like to save Elder Fugen for when the Apex monster calls on the second batch of monsters. Apex monsters, soon after they reach the second map, will draw and call for 1 batch of monsters to come and join it at the final gate. I usually like to use Master Utsushi to deal with the first batch of monsters. More on Master Utsushi later. As the fight with the Apex monsters progresses, if you haven't defeated it yet, it will call on a second batch of monsters. I like to use Elder Fugen again at this point, so that I can focus on fighting the Apex monsters, instead of having to deal with the second batch of monsters. For example, in the footage here, you can see that the second batch of monsters arrived as they were called by the Apex. Then, Elder Fugen was called upon and he easily cleared all the non-Apex monsters with his moves, then even making one of them rideable. Lori and Buddies and what they do. Lori and Buddies will be available very soon after the very first batch of monsters from the very first horde enters the arena. Lori will send his pal to attack monsters near him, dealing moderate damage to around 3 or 4 monsters if the monsters are clustered together. Lori's buddy will also inflict Ice Blight on monsters. When to use Lori and Buddies? Lori is useful for when you want to meet the Rampage sub-assignment of inflicting Elemental Blight on monsters, as his buddy will inflict Ice Blight. He is also helpful if you just need some help to deal damage to monsters. Do note that Lori is only available on the first horde of monsters. Hence, if you don't use him during the first horde, he will not be available anymore after that. Hinoa and Minoto and what they do. The twins become available soon after the second horde starts. They will do around 4 attacks to monsters near them, dealing moderate damage. Additionally, their attacks will also have a chance to inflict paralysis on monsters. When to use Hinoa and Minoto? The twins are useful for when you want to need the Rampage sub-assignment of inflicting status ailments on monsters. They are also helpful if you just need some help to deal damage to monsters. Do note that Hinoa and Minoto are only available at the second horde of monsters. Hence, if you don't use them during the second horde, they will not be available anymore after that. Master Utsushi and what he does. Master Utsushi becomes available at the third horde. at the second map, soon after the Apex monsters call on the first batch of monsters. Master Utsushi does not do any physical damage, but he uses Silk Web on all monsters on the map, which will cause the monsters to become rideable. He also inflicts poison on all monsters that he webbed. However, note that Apex monsters will not be rideable after being webbed by Master Utsushi, but the Apex monsters will still become poisoned. Additionally, Master Utsushi's web will also disrupt Apex monsters from their special moves, such as when Apex Rathalos is flying, or when other Apex monsters are charging for their big attacks against the final gate. When to use Master Utsushi? I like to use Master Utsushi as soon as he becomes available, when he gets unlocked soon after the Apex monster calls on the first batch of monsters to enter the second map. Master Utsushi will then use a Silk Web to make the non-Apex monsters become rideable. This is very useful when doing Rampage in multiplayer, because your teammates can then ride all 3 known Apex monsters, and then take turns to hit and knock down the Apex monsters 3 times back to back, giving your team a big window of opportunity to attack the Apex monsters. It is also a good way to get rid of the pesky non-Apex monsters on the map. And of course, Master Utsushi is very useful if you still need to meet the sub-assignment of inflicting status ailments at this stage of the quest. Yomogi and what she does. Yomogi becomes available at the third horde, when the Apex monster is at the second map, before the final counter signal is sounded by the game. This is usually after the first batch of non-Apex monsters are cleared. Yomogi will fire at monsters with a machine cannon within its firing range until she runs out of ammo, and I calculated roughly that she will fire for around 80 seconds if the monster is always near her and she fires continuously. Additionally, she will also buff the hunting installations on the map. This includes increasing the damage dealt by shots fired by ballistas, cannons, and machine cannons. It also includes making the special ammos of the hunting installations reload and charge faster. For example, in the footage here, you can see that the thunder shots of the cannons are reloading at a much faster rate. The amount of time needed to charge them up fully is also a lot quicker. Additionally, the regular cannonballs and the thunder shots are doing more damage. After Yomogi has left the map, the reload time and charging time went back to normal, which is much slower. The damage dealt by the cannonballs and thunder shots also became lesser. Next, in the footage here, you can see that the crack shots of the ballista are reloading at a much faster rate and are doing more damage. Now, Yomogi has left the map and the reloading speed of the crack shots is back to normal, which is much slower compared to when Yomogi was around to buff it. Do note that the damage buff given by Yomogi to the hunting installations does not apply to the Dragonator and the splitting Wyvern shot. When to use Yomogi? As Yomogi gets unlocked at the very late part of the Rampage, the value she brings is limited because you would most likely have completed most of the Rampage sub-assignments at this stage. Hence, you can activate Yomogi just to do some extra damage to the Apex monster. However, if you still have some sub-assignments left to clear, such as inflicting elemental blights or to stun monsters, Yomogi can help you with that. For example, if you still need to inflict elemental blight, you can activate Yomogi, jump onto a cannon, and start firing the thunder shots rapidly, hoping to inflict thunder blight. Or, if you still need to stun monsters, you can call on Yomogi, jump onto a ballista, and spam crack shots at monsters' heads and try to get a few KOs from there. This is the end of my special villagers guide in Rampage Quest. Hope you all find it useful and informative. Please let me know if there is any information about the special villagers that I have missed, and happy hunting!